For more on the economic rebound, let's turn to Liang. She's a professor of economics at Willamette University. And you know, we were just talking about the IHG chief talking about hotel industry. It looks like it's coming back. The ADP saying that it's forecasting a strong rebound for the regional economy. Is the area poised for a quick and sustained recovery? And can you talk to us about how that might benefit Hainan as well?
Good to talk to you again, Mike. So yes, the ADB has projected the developing Asia will grow by about 7.3% this year, which was actually increased from their earlier forecast of 6.8% that was projected last December. And that would be a big turnaround from last year's 0.2% of contraction in that area. So it is looking great that the region is going to grow, but unfortunately, I think also the recovery process is going to be uneven, just like the rest of the world, and that recovery will really depend on the economic structure, whether the country is very tourism dependent or not, for example, and it also depends on whether the pandemic will be under control, as well as how government policies will be effective or not. And responding to your second part of the question, yes, a rigorous, prosperous regional economy will definitely benefit China and benefit, Hainan as a, new economic free zone.
You were talking about the uneven quality of that, and that brings about my next question. What about international trade? Is that bumping up, or are we still well below pre-pandemic levels? Because as you said, some places rebounding, others not.
Right, exactly. So we're seeing countries like South Korea and Taiwan and China, for that matter, that their exports have remained pretty strong, partly due to their very resilient global value chain that are in their country. But the ADB does projected that the net trade surplus for the entire developing Asia region is going to taper down to about 2.4% of growth compared to last year's 2.1%. So it is possible that the rest of the world, as their economy recovers, they will reduce a little bit their demand for Asia's exports. But at the same time, I think Asia's economy will continue to grow, and regional trade cooperation investment will be a big push for continuous export growth.
Talk to us about the risks ahead, because I mean, when you look at the COVID crisis in India, that has to be a concern for the entire region, because what kind of impact could that have? Because we see how quickly this virus can spread. It doesn't know anything about boundaries or borders. We're seeing it spilling over in Nepal. What about the concerns there?
Right, exactly. The biggest risk factor is still the pandemic. As you pointed out, that India is really, covered by the crises, by the pandemic. Right now, they're approaching 400,000 cases a day. The entire region basically is still pretty much under-vaccinated. The city-state, Singapore had the highest vaccination rate. About 20% of the population had their first jab. But many of the countries, including South Korea, Indonesia, they only have about 5% of the population got first dose. And Japan, Philippines, Thailand, they only have about 2%. So I do think it's important for vaccines to be rolled out quickly in the region so that the regional economy can recover on a more sustainable basis.
Liang, always a pleasure talking to you. Thanks so much for your insights.
Thank you for having me.